Hey everyone, my name is WyrmsEye and I welcome you back to another episode of the Battle Spot Factory, our VGC Battle Spot series. So today is Thursday, we'll be carrying on with the team that we began showcasing on Tuesday's episode, this Battle Spot team that I saw from a Japanese opponent in the 1800s last season, featuring the Arcanine, Hariyama, Nihilego, Alolan Raichu, Tapu Bulu and Tapu Koko. So we didn't have a tremendous start in the last episode, and I haven't been able to ladder off screen. Obviously I've actually just straight up gone into the next recording from my Tuesday recording, so we are still near the tail of the ladder, the starting point, so hopefully we can get a couple of good wins and start that progression up the ladder. But as I said in the previous episode at the end, I'm hoping to ladder off screen for you to get us a bit higher up the ladder. So we're straight into our first opponent from Denmark, Toby, with a rating of 1500, and we see a team of Porygon 2, Tapu Koko, Arcanine, Tapu Lele, Garchomp and Snorlax. So we're starting off with a really interesting team here from my opponent, and there are some facets to this that I'm actually really looking forward to. The fact that Porygon 2 and Snorlax are both weak to the Hariyama is a major benefit to us. So if they decide to go into Trick Room, we should be able to deal with both Porygon 2 and Snorlax very well. On the flip side, we do have options such as the Garchomp to deal with. And I think Nihilego will be a very good Pokemon to bring here because it threatens three of his team very prominently. So what I am going to do is I'm going to lead with Hariyama and Nihilego. Going to bring Tapu Bulu in as my third, and for my fourth I want Arcanine. So this 4 I know is a very strong core because the opponent that I played on Battle Spot a couple of weeks ago, when I saw this team, used these 4 against me, against my Sheffield team, which is very similar to most of the standard stuff that we see today. It had Tapu Fini, Koko, Snorlax, basically anything that's standard. It should be able to deal fairly well with. And it will be very interesting to see how my opponent reacts to this. So my opponent decides to start off with a Garchomp Arcanine lead against my Hariyama and Nihilego. I would expect double protect here from my opponent. So I'm actually going to go very risky here, and I'm just going to feint and Hidden Power Ice into the Garchomp, and it's actually going to pay off here in dividends because my opponent has protected the Garchomp here, so this feint will break the protection on the Garchomp. And the Hidden Power Ice does go off onto the Garchomp, and it will secure the knockout here. So a major threat to my side of the field gone in the Garchomp. We get a Beast Boost from this. Nihilego obviously takes Life Orb damage, but the Arcanine's Flare Blitz should be going into the Hariyama. And this is where Thick Fat is going to play dividends. And as you can see, it takes absolutely nothing from that Flare Blitz. Just what I wanted to see. So straight away my opponent brings out the Tapu Lele. So there's two thoughts here. If it's a Scarf Lele, It's going to probably be psychicking our Nihilego. If it is a slower Lele, it probably might opt to protect. Whichever the case is, I'm just going to heavy slam and sludge bomb into it. The way that he's brought it out makes me think it's scarfed, which we do see. So it does take out our Nihilego here, unfortunately, but the heavy slam from the Hariyama should be doing decent damage onto my opponent's Lele. Obviously the Intimidate will have somewhat weakened it, but as you can see, not a lot there at all. So I'm going to bring in my Arcanine here, and I'm going to bait this very heavily. I want my opponent to guess that I've not brought the Bulu, and be more willing to leave the Lele up onto the field. And I'm now going to just go for the feint, and bring in the Tapu Bulu here as well. I'm hoping my opponent falls for this. We know that the Lele is scarfed, so from that respect, as we see that he actually withdraws the Lele into the Snorlax. So good play by my opponent there. Obviously, recognising that we do put some threat onto his Lele, and that we could potentially have the Bulu in the back. So the feint is going to go off into the Snorlax, not going to do a significant amount of damage, and we are going to see a Flare Blitz go off into the Hariyama. But as you can see, we're taking that remarkably well now. And this is where I think I'm going to start doing what this Bulu is most built for. I've got bulk up on this Bulu, so I am going to start bulking up. The Arcanine may switch its attention to the Bulu and use Flare Blitz into it. We do see that, but obviously the Tapu Bulu is taking that relatively well. And obviously after a couple of bulk ups, we should be able to really neuter the effectiveness of the Arcanine in general. As you can see, Snorlax taking well over half on that close combat. Does proc its berry, so we do see its Gluttony. And we see a high horsepower into the Bulu there. Not doing a heck of a lot of damage. At this stage it doesn't really need to. And we also get leftovers with this Bulu. So a little bit of additional healing goes a long way here. I'm going to protect the Bulu this turn. Again, it's more for the HP recovery over the oh, not quite getting the KO on the Snorlax there. Will it actually go for an attack into my Hariyama? Yes. Shows Facade there as well. So interesting move there from my opponent. still got to play this relatively carefully here, because obviously I know that my opponent has got the Lele in the back. I think my best option here is to use Heat Wave onto my opponent's Pokemon. And because the Arcanine is intimidated twice, I should be okay to just go for a superpower into the Arcanine. So we do pick up the knockout onto the Snorlax. So it's all going to be about whether or not we can pick up the knockout with the superpower into this Arcanine. And as you can see, the Flare Blitz, the burn will help. The burn's probably going to stop us from picking up this knockout now. That is painful. I think we were in a good position there were it not for the burn. Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. Okay, is there a way out of this? Yes. We can... My best guess is that the Tapu Lele should be going for a Psychic into the Arcanine, because the Arcanine should Flare Blitz our Bulu. So with that in mind, I'm going to protect the Arcanine. I'm just going to go for a Hornage onto Lele. I think we should have enough HP that we can just survive the Arcanine's Flare Blitz. Yep. It goes for a Wild Charge, and it goes into the... Oh. So massive overstep by my opponent there to go for the double target into the Arcanine. Obviously, he rightfully knew that removing Arcanine basically was his win condition. But at the same time, we also knew that Arcanine was very integral for our win position. We also had the Arcanine at -2. We had the Bulu at a decent health that we should have been able to survive a Flare Blitz. So from here, I am going to use the Inferno Overdrive onto the Arcanine. I'm going to protect the Bulu here just to stall out a turn, but my opponent just forfeits there. So good game to my opponent. It could have gone south very quickly with the burn onto the Bulu, but we took a bit of an educated risk there. We should have been okay to survive a Flare Blitz from the Arcanine from our Tapu Bulu. But we went for the risk, secured the knockout onto the Lele, which was going to pose the biggest threat to us with its Scarf Psychics onto our Arcanine. And in doing so, it left a 2v1 situation, but I think our Arcanine was always going to be in the best position possible. As theirs was at -2, so it wasn't going to have the damage output that it could have had. Plus, we still had a Z move to burn, and we'd already procced its berry, thanks to it burning and us not securing the knockout with superpower. So, excuse me, guys. So, close battle, but we will try and find a second opponent here. Try and get 2 wins for today's episode. Let's use the Elite Four track. So it has been a bit of a rocky start for us as we find an opponent from Italy in 15-16 range. As we see a team of Alolan Muck, Golduck, Tapu Koko, Porygon 2, Pelipper and Buzzwole. So those of you who aren't familiar, this looks like it's an ad verbatim copy of Tommy Coulin's triple top cutting international championship team, the Double Ducks, as most affectionately referred to it as. And it is a very strong and scary team, and something that we will have to be very mindful of. However, we do have options for it. Obviously, this is one of those times where I think a lead of Raichu and Coco is absolutely necessary for us. That in mind, I think it's also necessary for Arcanine to be there. And I think Hariyama as well. I don't think Nihilego is going to provide the best for us here, because it's still fairly weak to the rain, even though it has the special defense to probably take a hit from the Pelipper. But we shall see. So we do lead off with our Raichu and Tapu Koko, as our opponent leads off with the Buzzwole and Tapu Koko. So a very aggressive lead from my opponent here, but I think I'm relatively safe going for a fake out into the Tapu Koko, and we can also go for the Twinkle Tackle, I think, into the Buzzwole as well. We may see a double protect, it's very likely, I imagine, but given the scenario, I think this is our safest option on the whole. If the Buzzwole doesn't protect, the Twinkle Tackle will be doing a heck of a lot of damage, and we do not see a protect, so unless the Buzzwole is Assault Vested, which may be able to take a Twinkle Tackle, I don't know what the calculation is for a Twinkle Tackle offer for Tapu Koko. I know that Tommy said that a Dazzling Gleam from Tapu Koko onto his Assault Vested set is normally a 2-hit KO, if not a 3, so we may be able to secure it because of it being a single target. And we do secure the knockout there. So the Twinkle Tackle actually proving very useful here. And that does remove a big threat from our opponent's side of the field. It's one of its biggest offensive threats. And that means that we can start attacking one of the Pokemon that's in the back for my opponent. Whether that be the Golduck or the Pelipper, as I'm hoping it's probably going to be. So we actually see the Golduck coming here. Cool. So I don't really want to let the Pelipper in on this turn if I can help it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to Psychic into the Koko, and I'm also going to Thunderbolt the Golduck here. So we do see Tapu Koko withdraw, so obviously bringing in the Pelipper in the back, so we can expect the Golduck to protect here most likely. But we don't see any protect. So we will be getting just a free Thunderbolt off onto this Golduck. So unless it survives, which it doesn't, Our opponents played that very badly. His best option was to actually protect the Golduck there if he was doing this, because you don't get the speed boost until the turn after you bring in the rain, because speed is decided as of when you select your moves, so any switches that take place happen after the turn order is decided. So the only things that can change it are moves such as Quash or Follow Me or After You, yeah, those sorts of things. So I don't think our opponent really played that all too brilliantly. So Psychic onto the Tapu Koko, and we are just going to Volt Switch into the Pelipper here. Still no Protect from my opponent. Tapu Koko goes for a Thunder. Going into our Tapu Koko here. Sizable amount of damage, to be fair, and it does show that it's also Life Orbed. But we will get the Volt Switch off into the Pelipper. We'll pick up the knockout. And we can bring in Hariyama here. And basically we secure the game with Feint and Psychic. So I think this is one of those games that have gone very well for us. We managed to really put our opponent on the back foot. The Twinkle Tackle proving enormously helpful against the Buzzwole, which, if it's following Tommy's setup, the Assault Vest set, under normal circumstances, if it was just a Dazzling Gleam that we were using from our Tapu Koko, it would have survived very healthily, would have had Poison Jab to get a return knockout onto our Tapu Koko, get a Beast Boost, and from there it could have snowballed quite quickly. However, our opponent didn't really consider the threat of the Twinkle Tackle, and I think that in a way really helped us push through our momentum, and from there our opponent just didn't really have a handle on the game. He could have possibly dragged himself back in it with the Golduck protecting on the turn that he switched in Pelipper to get the speed boost for the following turn, but from there I think it was always going to be an uphill struggle, especially with what we had in the back to deal with it. So good gains to my opponent there, or good gains to both of my opponent for this episode. So we do actually finish off with a couple of wins here. I think I am going to call it a day there, guys. My throat is still sore from the cold that I've got. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, but if you did enjoy it, please leave a like. That's always very appreciated. And comment if you have any comments that you would like to make about the commentary, the production value. Obviously I've just got a new laptop, so hopefully the setup is working a lot smoother. There's a lot less of the audio glitches that I had in the previous laptop, and we hopefully will be bumping up the specifications, the quality of the stream, the videos rather, as we go. So it is working at the basic level that I've got it at now, but hopefully as I can just tweak it up ever so slightly, we may be able to get the quality a little bit better. So I hope you guys enjoyed, but until next time on the Battle Spot Factory, I will see you guys then. So bye bye for now.